Greetings, Dabblings, and welcome back to another video of Captain of Industry. It seems that there's certainly lots of interest in seeing a bit more of this game, but before we get down to today's episode, I just want to take a moment to offer my heartfelt thanks for all of the support you've offered on the last two videos. There's so much excitement and just general good vibes in the comments that it's really been a pleasure to read. So much so, in fact, that the developers themselves have reached out to me and want to celebrate all of the excitement shown by giving me 3 alpha keys to give away. That is, game keys which will unlock the game immediately for play rather than having to wait until full release. So, for the next 3 videos, I will be selecting a single comment at random on the video to win one of the game keys. I really can't overstate how happy I am to be able to share the game with even more of you, as it's obvious from the comments that a lot of you can't wait to get a hold of it and start building your own factories, and thanks to the devs' incredible generosity, 3 of you will get to do just that much sooner than expected. So finally, once again, a huge thanks to you for all of the support on these videos, and with that, let's get back to the game. Alright then, now with today's episode, we are going to immediately have to address a fuel shortage. We are still producing fuel, we're just not producing it very quickly, so that one's going to be a very easy one for us to address. Now, be very aware with fuel, as it's probably one of the easiest, and if I'm perfectly honest, the first soft lock scenario that I encountered in my offline play is running out of fuel. Now, it isn't super bad if it's something like your copper, your sand, your iron, but if it's coal, it can be extremely rough because coal is required to run the production of oil. So if we run out of coal, or rather the production of diesel, then that can actually slow down the production of future diesel, which means that the problem will never be able to be resolved. If a vehicle does run out of fuel, from anecdotally, the truck will eventually start again as long as there is fuel available. So if a truck runs out of fuel and it's quite far away, it just takes some time before they kick in again. The way I conceptualize that is the driver literally got out of their cab, walked to wherever the fuel was, filled up a jerry can, walked all the way back, just enough fuel to get the engine started and to drive over there and properly fill the tank. That being said, that is anecdotal. Now, it could have been that another truck brought a delivery of fuel and I just wasn't watching, so I think a little bit more for sciencing is needed there. But it does seem that there are ways that vehicles that run out of fuel far away do eventually get refueled, but that is built on the requirement that there is fuel available. They don't just magically start again. There we go. Now, with this much fuel being pumped up, or rather crude oil being pumped up, we should be okay. And you know what? With the amount of Unity we have, I think we can probably just go ahead and boost it all. I don't mind running the Unity down for now. That is perfectly fine. And that should mean that we're going to avoid the immediate problem of having a fuel shortage for our excavators. That being said, the very next thing we want to do, and this is specific for the excavators, is build ourselves a fuel station. Now, where do we want the fuel station to be? There are a couple of ways that we could look at this. On the surface, this is a building where you assign a truck, and that truck will specifically take fuel to excavators so they don't have to lumber themselves over to the fuel depot. However, you can also make a fuel station a fueling point for other vehicles, but they have to come to the fuel station to pick up their fuel. So building it a little bit more centrally will actually be useful for us in the long term. So how about we pop it down here, perhaps? And sure, we'll have it right there. I think that will actually be nice. We'll have to have some pipes moving around it, that's certain, but I think it'll actually look quite nice to have it around here, and then our trucks can just come along and refuel. Right, with that done, let's bring this along. That actually gives me an opportunity to demonstrate something. These are 2 max height pipes. You notice how when you're drawing out a pipe, again, the game is intelligent enough to know that unless you expressly ask it to merge a pipe, that's probably not the behavior you want. So just drawing a pipe over another pipe will not merge them. And even if you're drawing 2 max height pipes over each other, the game will try to resolve that issue one way or another. Now, what we saw just now was the pipe going up over It'll sometimes go under, but it is very interesting to note that although that is the max height that I can personally build it at, it is capable of going higher for edge cases, which is actually very, very useful. Right, now that being done, we've already finished the fuel station. We're going to need to assign a truck to that. How are our metal stores going? Well, they're kind of okay. I would like another truck to replace the one that we just used up, though. So let's get that one on the go. Now then, the next big job for us is to continue our research. We've got a couple of things that I would like to get going in the meanwhile. But we definitely want to get to advanced diesel. We definitely want to get to power generation because right now our diesel is having to pull double shifts. It's both the fuel source for our vehicles and the fuel source for our energy in the colony. But we could move away from using diesel as the energy producer for the colony, and that would take a little bit of stress off the system for us. But we're going to need to get a research lab upgraded for that one. Now that one is going to require more parts than we have. Now quick building is an interesting one. I've seen a couple of people's opinions on this being that, well, it's not very realistic and it kind of breaks the immersion. But the way that I've thought about this is that this is basically goodwill. You can quick build, and if you've got the materials, it's just a matter of, like, you know, you can imagine the captain just kind of bringing all of the people of the colony together and say, look, this building is really important to all of us. This will make all of our lives better. Let's make a big conga line of people, and we were just going to hand over hand all of the building materials right down to the building site. We won't bother with the trucks. We'll get this done tonight. And if people like you, and you have the unity to spend, then you can do it. You build that favor up by generally doing well by your people, by giving them good food, by making sure their needs are met. If they have confidence that you are making choices that are to the betterment of all of them, then they're willing to give up their time. In much the same way that we're boosting buildings, we're basically asking people to pull double shifts. They're being twice as productive as normal. That's a strain on their bodies, but they're willing to do it because they believe in what we're doing as a whole, and that we're asking them to give of themselves. When it comes to not having materials, because you can build stuff that you don't have the materials for, and to demonstrate that, boom, there we go. That is now built. We didn't have the materials to make it. We didn't have the necessary construction parts too. At this point, we're asking even more of the people. We're not just asking them to do the work. We're asking them to give us the stuff that they may have secreted away, the last vestiges of their lives before the global collapse, the little bits of bric-a-brac that they've managed to put into their container homes to make it more of a home and less of a cargo container. Well, you know, we need these construction materials, and we've run out of iron plating. I need you to give me your frying pans. We're just going to beat them flat and we're going to weld them onto the side of this building and so on and so forth. And if they like us enough, they'll do it, but it does cost a lot more. Now, that cost starts to go up very, very quickly. It is absolutely not sustainable. You can't just play the game building with Unity all the time. You will run out super fast, and the further into the game you go, and the more complex the materials, the more raw materials and processing that would be needed to make that piece of construction part, or rubber, so on and so forth, or electronics, especially electronics, glass, the more expensive that becomes in terms of Unity. I will probably use that ability very sparingly, but in my opinion, it is something that you can justify within the game world. You're asking your people to give of their own belongings at that point in order for you to recycle them and repurpose them into something else. I'm sure there will be a couple of balance passes on Unity, because there are some times when I've looked at that and thought, no, actually, that's a little bit OP. But at the same time, you can't build anything you don't have the research for. So if you haven't researched it, you can't build it at all. But now we've got that, we're working on power generation too. Time for us to consider upgrading some of our farms. We've been putting this water aside for quite some time, specifically for that purpose. So let's go ahead and start looking at that. Let's get one of these upgraded. Now it will still work even while we're upgrading it. Where's the bottleneck down here? Well, it's definitely not you. Well, actually, we've got a little bit of a backlog there of concrete. We seem to have more than enough materials, so I'm going to say it's a backlog in these machines. And there we go. Our truck ran out of fuel just as it got there. How vexing. But oh well. This is slowly pulling more fuel in, and that's going to be something that we're going to need to focus on for the next little while. Another project that we would also like to get onto is repairing the ship dock. Now that one is going to take us a bit of time to build up to, because we're currently dedicating a lot of our construction parts to upgrading the farm. But I really would like to get to the point where we've got a growing food stock if we're able. That being said, I would like to eventually expand our city in this direction, and this is kind of in the way. So let's take this opportunity to move that around a little bit. Let's pop the food market. In fact, I'm going to go for 2 of them because I can see that this one is full. Does that mean my farms are starting to stockpile? Yes, they are. Eventually, the food will simply rot. They won't have room to bring in the harvest, and the harvest will be wasted. Let's double our capacity to store food. And once that's done, we're going to pull that food market down. Additionally, I think we could probably afford to place down a couple of additional storages. So, for example, we could have one here and one here. One of the things I love about the storages is you can simply put them end over end, and they will work as intended. The goods will flow from one into the other. So you've basically just doubled the capacity of the storage. Additional places that we could do that. We could definitely have a little bit of extra water storage for our farms, just to carry us through when it isn't particularly rainy. Eventually, we're going to want to stop relying on rainwater, though, because that is completely random. Well, I say random. There probably is some rhyme or reason to it, where the patterns being patterns at the end of the day, but it is not nearly as predictable as I would like. We will eventually be able to move over to groundwater pumps, and indeed, with time, into desalinating seawater, and there's an awful lot of that around. But I'm going to let a little bit of time pass and wait for this farm to be finished, and I shall bring you back when we're ready to progress. And Power Generation 2 is complete. But a couple of other things that I've done in your absence. We went ahead and we built another excavator and assigned another truck to these excavators so that we've always got plenty of coal available to us. We have additionally paused the work on copper right now because, frankly, we just don't need it. We've got ample amounts of copper available to us. Looking down here, let's have a quick peek. Yes, everything is going well there. We've even actually got a little bit of a storage of regular copper plates there. If I absolutely needed to, I could switch over the production there. All right, now with all of that said and done, we've also got the food market finished, and this will actually give us an opportunity to cover something that has been, there's conflicting kind of anecdotal evidence out there regarding cargo when you delete a building. I just said this building to be deleted. There's 175 food in there. Now, a truck will come and collect the construction parts, but you won't see any trucks coming to collect the food itself. And that has led some people to believe that items that are in buildings in their cargo, when they get deleted, get completely destroyed. No, they just get instantly teleported over to the ship dockyard. Now, I imagine that's probably there to avoid a soft lock scenario where you need to demolish a building to get the construction parts, but you have nowhere to store the materials that are in the building, and because if you had to wait to move all the items out first, then you would be in this scenario where you couldn't get away. Now, personally, it would be quite cool. I think it would solve the problem if a truck just brought those materials down to the shipyard. However, the shipyard does have a cargo capacity. It doesn't make it very clear, but it in fact does. So I'm not really sure what the best solution there, but it absolutely does not delete the cargo. It just teleports it to the shipyard, if there's room. I'm not sure what would happen if there weren't. Now, I have set this one up to accept food. In fact, I'm going to tell both of these to accept food, and specifically to keep full, so food is never manually removed from them. It can be delivered, but it can't be taken out. And I'm promptly going to set these up then to deliver the cargo like so. In fact, I shouldn't do that. I should do this one instead. That way I'm saving on the belts. The belts cost power after all. So let's get those belts made. This way our trucks will deliver to the unit storage, and then that will deliver on to the 2 food markets. And that should remove one extra way that our trucks are having to carry cargo around. And on that note, given how absolutely critical having coal in the basic distiller is, I think it's probably time for us to go ahead and set that up to have dedicated coal storage as well. Just a little something to prevent any mishaps in the future. So if we pop this in here, now this has a decent storage capacity, has 180 coal. This uses 4 coal every 10 seconds. That will give us plenty of time to deal with any kind of issue with supply, I should imagine. There we go. Let's hook all of that up right there. Now, we've got 11 Unity at the moment, and we have all the construction materials, so let's just fast track that one. We have all of the construction materials required here. Get to work, peeps. This needs to be done right now. And from now on, once coal is put into this building, it cannot be taken back out. That is coal earmarked for fuel production and should always be there. That also gives our trucks something to do, because honestly, we now gather much more coal than we can actually move around. Now, that's only a temporary solution. They will, again, eventually have nothing else to do. But when they're full of cargo and they're just waiting for someone to take it, it does appear that the trucks are considered stopped. Let's have a look. Have we got anyone that is a good example of that? No, I'll just have to wait for the coal to be filled up again then. And then we'll just double check and make sure that they aren't actually consuming any diesel whilst parked. But it is time for us to automate our irrigation. Right now, this is getting water. The trucks are actually bringing the water along. Bless their little hearts. But there we go. No, the trucks aren't actually people. So, it's great. Your people are represented by trucks. No, the people are in the trucks. You don't see the people. The trucks are trucks. They're not people. This isn't a Cars universe, unless it is, in which case I'm going to question everything I believed. Nevertheless, there we go. Right, we should hopefully see some of these start filling up and having nowhere to go soon, so we'll be able to double check that that is actually the case, as I suspect it is, that when they're just sat there with cargo and nowhere to put it, that they're not actually consuming any diesel. That being said, I do feel, well, actually, one thing that we don't need that running anymore. I do feel that our current smelting operation could stand to be a tad better, and I think the best way to make it better would be to move it closer to the source of iron. Now, that isn't always going to be our source of iron. Eventually, there's going to be iron elsewhere. But if we have a look at the overlay here, and actually this gives me an opportunity to note a difference with the overlay. The devs have actually made this significantly more useful. But there's quite a lot of iron here. We can probably stand moving the smelting operation a little bit closer. But a few key differences in this overlay. There are cylinders and there are now rectangles. Cylinders denote the presence of a more of a vague resource. With the rectangles, it's specifically saying there is coal at this point. The lines give you an indication of the depth of the coal. So, for example, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 depth units worth of coal there. Over here, there is significantly more. And part of that is above ground. The grey towers on top of them indicate that that's how much dirt or other non-ore material lies on top of this resource. So there's a tiny bit of coal there, but it's under an awful lot of dirt. We probably wouldn't specifically dig down in order to get that. We will get it eventually because we are going to mine this entire thing, but that will be gotten more as a byproduct of the mining process rather than specifically digging down for that. But cylinders represent a more, well, a fluid type of resource. In this case, it is only fluids, but whether that is the case, maybe there'll be natural gas or something, and it'll probably operate in the same way. Whereas I would need to dig specifically this tile to get the coal that's on this tile, I only need to be accessing this particular deposit of groundwater to have access to all of it. Same over here with the crude oil. A single pump here has access to the entire reserve of crude oil on this patch and would eventually, with time, extract all of it. I'm not sure if the groundwater is going to work quite in that way, or whether it gets replenished by rain, or whether it's just a constant resource, but we'll find out in the future. But that's how the cylinders and the rectangles differ. We've got enormous quantities of material. Oh my God, look how deep that is. Wow. But we've got enormous quantities of raw resources. We've got iron for a very, very long time. I think there's not going to be any problem at all with us setting up an iron smelter over here. And to that end, I've already designated these trees be chopped. Right, let's get back on the research. We have got to get mechanical power storage. Right, so we've got power generation. That has given us a boiler, which will produce high-pressure steam, a high-pressure turbine, which will take that steam and turn it into mechanical power. It'll start spinning a shaft. Is it called a drive shaft or a power shaft? I'm not actually sure. That, in turn, will spin a power generator, and that's how we will get energy from the steam. It will require coal, and it will require water. What we're currently researching are enhancements to the system, and personally, I feel that these enhancements are worth getting before you even design the system, because it is going to impact how you build it. We will have the flywheel, which is basically a mechanical battery, if you think, because we're basically powering our steam generator through spinning a shaft. The flywheel is just going to store all of that energy. And then if the turbine shuts down for some reason, the flywheel will keep spinning, keep that shaft turning, which will keep the generator running until the flywheel has expended all of the stored energy that you've got in it. Turbine control, though, is the real gem with this technology. This one will allow us to run the turbine much more efficiently and thus reduce the required amount of input for the same sort of efficiency of output, which will in turn save on coal. So we're going to get that before we start building our energy system. So in the meanwhile, while we're waiting for that to be done, I think we're going to set up an expanded iron smelter. So bring you back in a few seconds. And there she is, in all of her glory, our expanded iron smelter. Now, I've built a backup coal maker just in case, but I've immediately paused it. But as you can see, the only points of drop-off or pickup, and there we are, we've finished groundwater pump. In your absence, I completed mechanical power storage and researched groundwater pump, which is going to be very, very important for us to have to make sure that we've got a constant supply of water, so we're a little less dependent on rain for generating power once we get to that. And since we're going to be generating power, let's go ahead and research settlement power so our peeps can enjoy a little bit of electricity in their homes. But back to the smelter. The only points of drop-off and pickup are these three loose storages there, and these, well, three, but realistically one, unit storage over here. Everything else is automated. So we drop off the iron ore here, we drop off the coal here, we pick up slag over here, and again, I'm making sure to prioritize its removal only when there is a full truck's load worth there, and much the same over here as well. Now, one thing about connected inventories, generally speaking, I feel that you need to have exactly the same settings. If you have any specific, like, default behavior override settings on any of them, you should have them on all of them. We for science this in a recent stream that I did. By the way, if you're interested in a little bit more Captain of Industry footage, there's about 8 hours worth of footage that will be going up on my second YouTube channel, Aavak After Hours. You can find links to that down below, or you can find links to my Twitch channel where you can possibly join me live for it. But we have for science this. Sadly, if I tell this inventory to, let's say, keep empty, and I don't tell these to keep empty, they will pick it up from here and put it in over there. This is the one place that I have found where the truck's AI is a little bit subpar. It would be wonderful if when you connect all storages like this, the trucks consider them a single storage unit. But they don't. So do be aware that if you do have any kind of overridden behavior, copy it to all of them, and then that should by and large get the behavior that you want. Otherwise you could end up with, as we saw on the stream, 8 trucks literally just going in circles, which, I mean, you know, as a British person, it did warm my heart to be seeing the trucks basically using a roundabout, but not exactly the way that I would have liked. Nevertheless, we've now got much expanded iron production. Also, I managed to deforest quite a large area of trees in order to build it, so we've got a very, very large tree stockpile there. On that note, we no longer need that many vehicles dedicated to gathering trees, so I think we're good with that. At this point, I feel quite confident unpausing copper smelting. Now, we are going to want to do more or less the same thing for our copper smelter as we have over there. Let's go ahead with that in mind and designate a new area to be harvested of trees, just to give us room to replicate this system. I'm really, really happy with this. I love what you can do with the belts. Just take a moment and appreciate how gorgeous that looks. There are some things that I did that weren't... look, okay, sometimes I feel a bit dark Aavak, and then it's efficiency before ethics. And then other times I feel like the regular me, where it's, you know, form before function. And that is definitely the case here. This is both form and function, which is double bonus, but I absolutely used more molten channels here than I needed to, but they look better in my opinion, so I don't care. If you do, I do understand, and you have my deepest sympathy, but I'm not going to suddenly care because you do. That looks gorgeous, and I will not only die on that hill, I will build the hill out of slag in order to die on it. Now, as far as our fuel goes, we are actually in a really, really nice place, and I have not seen any issues for a little while. Honestly, the key here was getting enough excavators running this, though I am noticing a bit of an inefficiency as far as our ore is going. Now, I think we're probably going to want to get another excavator helping out with iron ore. So let's go ahead and do that. I don't think we're going to need 2 extra trucks, but 1 extra truck is definitely something we're going to want to grab. In the meanwhile, look, we've practically got all we need, so let's get on with repairing the dock. It's been a very long time. Also, once the dock is repaired, we're going to need to repair the ship. Now, I may be running with a little bit of foreknowledge here. We're going to need an awful lot of metal to repair the ship, which is why our iron smelting operation has been greatly expanded. But, I mean, you know, it is going to help us as well. And look at this. We have got 92 months worth of food supply. I mean, that is amazing, but it is also extremely wasteful of the potential unity that I could be getting by allowing people to eat a little bit more whilst we're in a time of plenty. So let's go ahead and build a captain's office as well. Now, this is going to be a new power drawing structure, so I think 'tis now time for us to consider where we're going to build our power setup. Right, now generally speaking it doesn't really matter because power is wireless. We are living in the world where Tesla managed to finish their fantastic idea for the wireless transmission of energy, and no doubt for a while the energy crisis wasn't there. So it begs the question, what was the global crisis? Because it couldn't have been power, because in this reality Tesla, probably played by David Bowie, actually managed to get their invention out to the world. However, the ship dock is ready. Let's go ahead and start repair of the ship. It's going to take 124 metal plates. We do actually have enough, which is fantastic. So that means we're going to get to ship exploration in this episode. But let's pick somewhere... Well, let's pick somewhere next to the water table, which is pretty much everywhere, I guess. We're going to need coal. So how about somewhere nearby here for our energy? We've cleared out this space over there. Now, I would ultimately like to have more farms down here. That's what that space is more or less earmarked for. And I do want to move away from a reliance on rainwater gathering. That being said, this space in here is probably perfect for it. We'll have water. We'll be near enough to the coal. So sure, let's get our setup going right now. We're going to start with just water and coal. Now, you can use boilers in multi-purpose roles. For this, I'm going to have these boilers specifically for power generation. But you can absolutely have boilers also help out with your advanced diesel distilling. But we're going to focus right now on just pure energy generation. So we're going to need a boiler. That will need water. It'll need somewhere to off gas because it's going to be burning coal. So let's set up something like this, I'm thinking. Sure, we'll pop one there. We are going to want loose storage. A decent amount, I would say. We'll place this one here. We are going to want water storage. Again, a decent amount. We'll place this one right there and connect these up. I can hear the sprinklers in the background. I'm not prioritizing getting more irrigated farms because, frankly, we've got so much food right now. But we will be getting that fairly soon, so don't worry about that one. There we go. This way we can get the deliveries of coal that we are sorely going to need. And this one, again, is going to be a keep full matter. Likewise, water, keep full. I do not want this being taken away. Now, the groundwater pump is going to be capable of producing, let's have a look at maximum output, 8 units of water every 10 seconds. How much will a single boiler need? It will require 8 every 10 seconds. So this will be par. I am in favor of having redundancy here. Just in case, I would like this to be full. So what we can do over here is I can have a bit of a backup system. We can take rainwater whilst we've got it. I mean, it's free water, effectively. And then bring that over to that. So we're going to pop in a pipe balancer. We're going to place it right there. And I'm going to hook this up all the way along and connect. And then the same over here, connect. And then we are going to break this down. There we go. Now, the pipe balancer, we should be able to get that set up really quickly. Our trucks are amazing at the moment in regards to water. We are doing a very good job as far as that goes. Now, I'm going to actually put in a second pipe balancer over here, and I will show you why in just a moment. We'll have this one right there. And this pipe balancer then will output into the tank. This pipe balancer will run into... Oh, well, actually... you know, there we are. It is actually in the right way. It's gonna frustrate my trucks, but realistically, I don't want them taking this this shortcut anyway. So we're gonna have them moving elsewhere. Now it's gonna take them a little bit to get all of that together. We do have the materials. Oh well, we almost have the materials. I'm not gonna build that. Like I said, we're in a position where we can very thankfully not worry about using Unity. It is there if we should need it. But effectively, I'm going to have this pipe prioritize sending water to the boiler, and this one prioritize accepting water from the rainwater before using the groundwater pump. This way, we should have everything we need. So I can have a groundwater pump then basically right next to it if I would like to, and I actually don't see a reason not to. Sure, it'll actually make a lot of sense for it to be there. This will be dedicated for this use, but whenever it can, it will use rainwater instead. That being said, I may have this simply split the outputs rather than give priority, because I do want to make sure that obviously our farms are irrigated at all times. But there we are. That'll take a little while to set up, so while all of that's going down, let's start putting down the rest of the power. Now, it's always worthwhile having a look at what things are going to produce. So the high pressure vent here has got 2 inputs and 2 outputs. One is for steam, and that is along the side. And one of the outputs, the 2 high inputs and outputs are for steam. The inputs and outputs along the bottom are the power shaft. Again, I'm not actually sure if it's called a power shaft or a drive shaft. If you do happen to know, sound out in the comments. I would appreciate it. We could have it oriented that way, but I would prefer it if this were running straight forward. So let's plop this one down over here. I'm not going to worry too much about the input there. Now, one of the things that I'm not sure if this is intentional, but it kind of makes sense to me, but I'm going to be honest that this is one of those instances where I have enough knowledge of something to be dangerous that I can rationalize something without knowing strictly if it's true. So I'm going to say anecdotally, I have noticed that you can place turbines, flywheels and generators anywhere along the shaft. It doesn't matter where. Now, in my head, that kind of makes sense because realistically, all they're doing is trying to spin the shaft. So it doesn't matter where that turbine exists along the shaft as long as it can spin it. Now, there might be some material concerns about the shaft and the stresses being placed on it if you're trying to spin it in the middle versus spinning it at the far end, so on and so forth. But by and large, you can just build these in any configuration you want, and that can actually lead to some pretty nifty designs. Now I'm going to place a power generator. This will have a maximum output of 250. I'm going to place a flywheel in line with that. Then I'm going to place another power generator over here because I happen to know that a single turbine will be able to produce enough mechanical power to run 2 generators. The flywheel will be there for the times when I'm not using the maximum capacity of the generators, so both generators aren't having to run at full power. So instead, the turbine can spin up the flywheel and just basically store that power for a later time. Next, we are going to need to get rid of the output. What will go in is high pressure steam. What will come out is low pressure steam. Currently, we haven't got anything to do with low pressure steam, so we're just going to vent it. For that, we're going to need the smokestack. Now, the smokestack is going to need to deal with the output of this one boiler, but eventually we're probably going to expand it a little bit more. So how about we place... well, we're going to need the steam as well. So I guess I could have one of these in the middle. I could even build one per, just to make sure that it can get rid of all of the steam. But I think that's a poor design there. Let's have a look. Sure, I guess we could put it down here. It means we're going to have to cross some pipes, but I actually don't mind about that one for now. We'll probably move this later on, specifically because we're not going to want to be getting rid of all of the steam all of the time. Eventually, we're going to want to reuse it. Actually, on that note, and I hate doing this, I hate changing my mind, but I was basically building that based on the position of the generator when I know that eventually I'm going to be doing something else with the steam, but I am always going to need to off gas from the boiler, so I really should be building that smokestack with regard to the boiler first and foremost. So, you know what? Sure, we'll place this over here. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap just because I like being able to draw out the pipes. I know I don't need to, but it does offer me the opportunity then of crossing over those pipes in the future. Right, so there we go. That is going to take us a while to build, but this is now a complete system. While all of that's going on, we're going to do some research on something else and then some world exploration. Housing too. We can actually give them different housing. Honestly, I kind of like the cargo container chic style they've got going, but this housing will actually give a lot more room for people and is more comfortable. So, all right, we'll get it going. But what we've been waiting for a while, it is time to start exploring the world. However, we're very close on power, so I'm actually going to dump some of my Unity into this just so I can pull down the power needs. But let's go and have a look at the map. Okay, we've now got a ship that can move around. Let's go... Oh, actually, it would help if the ship had A, fuel, and B, crew. Those are 2 things you generally want on your ship before you send it anyway. My lord. But you can actually see the ship stats over here. Every window can be moved, by the way. It's actually very nice. It's got hit points, armor, crew, average damage, maximum weapon range, fuel tank, radar range, and battle score. We will be adjusting all of these in time as we build things up. You've probably already noticed that there is weapons technology available on the research tree. We will eventually need to get to that. Now, eventually we're not going to be requiring these diesel generators. As you've probably noticed, the steam generators are significantly more efficient. So I'm going to branch off the diesel line for the 2 diesel generators because these are eventually going to become backup generators. I'm also going to priority build this. We've got the materials. Quick build it. We've got the materials, so I'm just going to have people hand over hand it all the way. And this will now start filling the ship with fuel. It's going to take us a little bit for that to happen, so may as well run time a little bit faster. How are we doing for metal? Not amazing, actually. We could do with a little bit more. We definitely could. How are we doing for copper? We are almost out. My lord. Thank goodness I thought to check. There we go. Let's get that on the go. Right, we've got a new excavator. Let's get you over there and a new truck. This should allow us to run the blast furnaces for iron more or less 100% of the time. Now, we are kind of gated by our production of advanced construction parts, and that is gated. Actually, nothing is gating that. We simply don't have the materials here. We did just dump an awful lot into the ship, so that does kind of make sense. Still, we have now fully fueled it, so it is time for us to get out there on the high seas. Okay, now we've got 4 points to explore, and as we explore, we will uncover more and more. If we had a better radar, we would see more of the map from any particular position. But let's go back and watch our ship take to the waves. Truly majestic. And once that is out there, we will be able to... Actually, let's have a look. How far out does it go? Oh, it disappeared. Well, I mean, you know, that fair enough. I mean, who really builds with the expectation that someone is going to pan the camera just to see if it does go all the way to the horizon or not? But it's on its way. Once it gets there, it'll spend a little time exploring. Again, if we had a radar, it would be able to see much, much further out. But right now, it will just check out what's over here. Ooh, not enough maintenance. That is likely due to... Yeah, that's due to the fact that our copper completely run down. Okay, well, I'm going to dedicate another truck over here then. That should help us out a bit. Because honestly, the excavator is spending an awful lot of time just doing nothing because the copper trucks have nothing to do. Or didn't for a while, but now that they're going to be running down there, the period that the truck is on its way, the excavator is going to be doing absolutely zilch. We have already found an oil rig. That is fantastic. Certain parts of the map, I'm not actually sure yet. It does seem that some parts have a decent chance of always having a certain event there. For example, every time I've looked, an oil rig has been here. And every time I've looked, there's been a specific single event over here, but the others have been randomized. So I don't know if that means they're always random, or if just some things are always guaranteed to be only one tile away from your main island. It would kind of make sense. But we have discovered the oil rig, and as a result, ocean drilling technology. Hooray indeed. Now, we can start repairing that. We're not going to just yet. I would like to do a little bit more exploration. Sure, 448 kilometers away. You carry on. You've got enough fuel there. Eventually, it won't be able to explore any further out because of fuel concerns, and we'll address that once we get to that point. Now then, let's have a look down here. We seem to be doing okay. I could, if I really wanted to expand out a little bit. Sure, let's place down two loose storages and a single loose storage down here. There we go. This is a much smaller setup. We're using copper very sparingly compared to iron, so I'm not going to go all out on this one just yet. But this does give me the opportunity to play around with the... well, actually, given that we're only got 2 inputs, there's no reason for me to use the elevated paths yet. A shame, I know, because it does look amazing. This one will be copper ore. And again, that should be kept full. This one will be coal, but I'm not going to have the coal be kept full. Specifically because if for some reason we ran out of coal to run our power, I'm happy for them to take it away from the smelting stacks. But once iron ore is there, there is really no reason not to keep it there. There we are. Let's have a look at you. We're certainly getting there. Let's have a look down here with 2 excavators running reasonably fast. I think we probably could do with another truck. Maybe. We've got all the iron we need. What we lack now, though, is actual copper plates. Okay, so we're getting to the point now where the lack of copper is going to be a burden for us. So I'm going to unpause inviting refugees, just so that we can hopefully get to that get a little bit of copper plate brought in, but we aren't too far away now in terms of research of being able to make our own copper plates. We do need to finish advanced diesel first, but we may as well finish housing before we get there. Right, the ship is currently exploring, so it's going to take a few more moments, and hopefully in that time we will finish this off. Okay, so we have found our first pirates. For those of you who have been wondering, is there combat in the game? There definitely is. I have not noticed any raids coming to the island yet. The only kind of combat that I've seen are increasingly dangerous threats the further you go out as you explore with the ship, necessitating further and further improvement of the armament and armor of your ship on the way. Okay, you can go home now. You've been damaged. You're also carrying 12 people, and I think it is just 12 people you found on the oil rig. The poor devils, desperate to get off there, have decided to come along. Now, once we repair the oil rig, that is going to be a constant drain on our Unity. That being said, we do have some edicts that'll help with that. I can increase the population. Right now, I could just create an edict, be merry and multiply. You know what? I'll make you even more merry by giving you extra food. No one's going to want to have children if they're afraid that they won't be able to feed them. This should assuage those fears. That being said, we have now set this up, so we should see copper filtering through of its own. And I'm going to go a little bit further by hooking that up down here, so that I've not got trucks responsible for moving it. And that will make everything that little bit easier for us. There we go. That shouldn't take us over long to do. The ship is back, but the ship is damaged. Not so damaged that we can't do anything with it, though. But if we want to upgrade it, it has to be in pristine condition. Also, if it drops below that line, I don't believe that they will allow the ship to go out. How is my fuel doing right now? Because we are actually splitting it. Fuel is... Well, honestly, fuel isn't the greatest. I'm going to be honest. That could definitely be improved. Every time the ship goes out, it does take 80 fuel to go. So we want to be aware of that one. And the dock itself holds quite a lot. Actually, no, the dock only holds one full fuel load. Okay, that isn't so bad then. We shouldn't have too much trouble setting up the... keeping the fuel flowing. Later on, you can make specific cargo docks, and those can have quite expansive capacities. So do be aware that sometimes if you're just allowing them to fill up the various docks with fuel for the various ships, because you will have more of them later on as you explore, you can cause issues in the fuel supply for your vehicles by allowing too much fuel supply for the ships. How are we doing over here? We are full. Okay, well, that is a prime example then of somewhere we need a boost. Right now, we've got way too much Unity, so let's get rid of that. Even allowing our people to have double rations, well, it's not actually double rations. I believe it's a third extra rations. Yeah, 30% increased. We are still very food positive. That won't always be the case, however, so let's make sure that we are accounting for that. Oh, actually, I'm going to need to wait for the building to be upgraded. But we do want to account for that and make sure that we are producing enough food to keep that going. That being said, we now need to wait for our generator to come online. So I will pass a little bit of time. I will do a little bit of exploration. I shall bring you back if anything particularly interesting occurs. Well, that didn't take long. And this is what I mean by it seems a little bit random. This is not always there in the games that I played, but we found our first cargo ship. Okay, so we're probably going to be getting to automated cargo runs a lot sooner than expected. We've got an extra 12 people from this as well, but this is a damaged cargo ship. We can repair it, and when we do, that will be added to our fleet. As far as I'm aware, you can't manufacture your own ships. But we're going to continue to do a little bit of exploring. We have, thankfully, finished research, and we are now moving on to edicts. I felt that it would be better for us to check out the lower diesel and lower fuel and lower maintenance edicts over going for advanced diesel just yet. We haven't even got a boiler set up yet, so it seems a little bit premature. But at this point, we can totally upgrade to some housing, and I think we definitely should. Now, this is going to be an expensive one because it requires 50 of a component that we don't have. And this illustrates the cost. It will require 10 Unity to do this. We've easily got the construction parts, but we have nowhere near the advanced construction parts. However, just so that we can see this in this episode, there we go. And boom. Pastel concrete slabs. I kind of like the cargo container chic that we had going on, but you know, it is what it is. Also, they've got much more grid-like pathways. I like the angles, personally. But, you know, it's fine. People will have more room. I mean, there's certainly a lot more room. It's double the amount of room. Unity bonus they're currently getting from electricity and water. Now, this is an interesting one to point out. We are actually generating or capable of generating a little bit more Unity than we were from these houses. And as we upgrade more and more, that will become increasingly more clear to you. Right now, we've just got a flat Unity, no matter the amount of cargo containers we have. But as you convert these to homes, the amount of Unity you generate will actually increase based on the amount of people living in comfort. And that will actually be a very, very important one for us. Now then, back to waiting on... Oh, actually, before we go... there we go. I'm very glad that we actually discovered a regular area. This has given us some pops, some rubber, some copper. It is quite random what you will find at these areas, but that was actually quite useful. That copper will be fantastically useful, in fact, for us to build some more devices. In fact, let's go ahead and get a pickup on the go. Population increase, refugees, we've got some copper, got some rubber, got some diesel. We're not going to need more population increases thanks to the beacon. So we can turn that one off for now. We are dipping over our power generation. So for the time being, I'm going to also boost this for as long as our Unity lasts. But hopefully, when you return, we will be done with our power generation. And there we go. We have our boiler complete. And it is now starting to produce steam. That will slowly make its way down the pipes. Again, one of the really nice, tiny little features that I actually really appreciate in this game is the fact that the game has movement in the pipes. Much like a conveyor belt, the material is moving along the pipes. Quite a lot of games will have just end-to-end movement rather than actually visualizing it moving through. The turbine is starting to spin up. Now, it won't really be doing much until it passes this threshold there. That's at the point where the generators can actually start producing power. And we will notice them start to spin up in a moment, I am certain. Let's have a watch. Oh, actually, right now, I suppose... we're currently running off the diesel generators, but now that they've noticed that we've got alternative power, they have shut down completely. Okay, there's a lot of things to take in here. First and foremost, it's generally better to have this running for as long as it can rather than stopping because it takes time to spool up. This is where auto balance comes in. Right now it's running at 100% efficiency. Once it has charged the shaft with about almost as much power as it can hold, we'll be wasting energy. We'll be wasting that steam if we just let it keep going. So if we turn this on, it'll auto balance. Once it gets close to the top, it'll shut down the turbine, and then as it gets closer to this threshold here, it'll turn it back on so it doesn't have the spool up time. Right now it's dumping power into the shaft, and that is in turn driving the flywheel, or rather storing energy in the flywheel, and eventually this will shut down. It won't need to be running for a little while, so the boiler in turn will shut down. We'll stop using coal, we'll stop using water. At the moment, the generators are ramping up based on our need. We have now got a potential output of 800 kilowatts. That's using the 2 diesel generators as well. Though right now it will give preference to our steam generators, and you can see that we're not even maxing out our second generator here. This is fantastic because this is now going to disconnect us from reliance on diesel for the power of our colony. We've got more than enough output between these two, 500 in total. The other thing I want to touch on is these have been built, and I don't believe I've really shown off how they work previously. You have a couple of options with these splitters. In its default state, it'll simply take an even from inputs and even to outputs. You can make it strict. So, for example, if there's an abundance of items coming in from one of the inputs, it'll simply stop accepting it until it has accepted an equal amount from the other side. So generally I'll keep that off, but it would be useful in very, very specific cases. You can prioritize incoming or outgoing port. You can do that at the same time or individually, and you can also change which ports are being prioritized. So for example, like this. However, you cannot, for example, say prioritize the outgoing on the X port and the incoming on the O port. That isn't possible as it is. So with that, over here, right now we're splitting the rainwater evenly between my field and the storage over here. But over here, with the groundwater pump, which requires energy and people to make use of, and while it's not doing anything, it doesn't consume that power. It does still require a worker, but that's a loss that we can absorb. What I'm doing here is I'm prioritizing the incoming port of X. So if there is water in this pipe, I'll take it over the water in this pipe, which generally means that this is only going to run when there is a deficiency. And with that, we are generating more than enough power. Right now, it looks like we are actually ramping up the turbine because it got a little bit low, but you notice how the flywheel is spinning very, very slowly. I'm sure while I was explaining the splitters, some of you noticed that it got quite fast, and it's now slowing down because the turbine didn't need to run anymore. There was enough energy in the shaft that it could turn off for a little while, but as it got closer to this threshold here, it kicked back on to make sure that we would always have continual power, and that is absolutely fantastic. With that, we can now consider building the transformer, which in turn will give us more unity. Now, this is one that we're not going to have to pipe anything to, because obviously wireless transfer of energy. Do we have the materials? We absolutely do not. We do absolutely have the unity. For the sake of demonstrating what it's going to be like, this feels a little bit like I'm just not being patient, but I would like to have this in this episode. So there we go. We'll make an exception here. That's pulling 54 kilowatts. It requires 8 workers, but now you see we're starting to bring in a lot more unity as a whole. If we have a look over here, our total unity output is 3.33, and our total unity consumption is only 0.5. That means we can run a whole bunch of edicts. We don't necessarily need plenty of food at this point, but we can totally have fuel saver as well as maintenance reducer active at the same time. That will be a huge, huge benefit to us. We're still waiting on the advanced construction parts to finish the farm, and that is why I rushed this, because we would have to wait for quite some time before we had all of that going. But that is something that we're probably going to want to start looking into improving, probably after the next episode, because the next episode is going to be chiefly focused on advanced diesel. But looking at the time, we are all out of time. I got a little bit sucked in there. But again, if you're interested in the alpha keys, do remember I will be selecting a winner randomly from the comments on this video, and I will announce that winner in the next video. But that is going to be it from us and our colony for today's episode. Again, I wish you all the very best of luck with your chances to win the alpha key, and I will see you in the next episode in a day or so. But until then, and as always, from myself and all of the colonists who are enjoying all of the mod cons, food, water, and electricity, do take care.